Lily, a 20-year-old, found herself alone at home as her family had gone out of town for a friend's wedding over the weekend. She relished the idea of having the house to herself, planning to use the rare opportunity for relaxation and self-care. During the day, she moved around the house, started painting, listened to music, and even began reading a book she had wanted to read for a while. However, as the hours passed and the evening approached, the atmosphere suddenly changed. The peaceful silence within the house gave way to an eerie tension. Lily chalked it up to feeling anxious due to the solitude at first. However, as the evening advanced, strange occurrences within the house escalated beyond her control. First, a gentle breeze swept through the house, causing the curtains to sway. Lily initially dismissed this oddity as the work of the wind, but the breeze grew stronger, and the curtains continued to flutter without any apparent source. She watched in disbelief as the room transformed into an eerie spectacle. With a sense of growing unease, Lily decided to retreat to her bedroom. However, as she hurried to her room and shut the door, it abruptly burst open and started swinging back and forth on its own. She realized that this couldn't be attributed to a mere gust of wind, and her anxiety deepened. Lily tried to make sense of these inexplicable events, but her rational explanations fell short. As the night wore on, she roamed through the house, only to find that each room was plagued by similar bizarre incidents. Lights flickered, doors opened and closed, and strange sounds echoed through the halls. Shortly after midnight, she found herself exhausted and terrified, huddled in the living room. The only source of light came from the television, which suddenly went dark, then promptly came back to life. Lily was frozen with fear as her own face appeared on the TV screen, and another young girl of the same age was looking at her. The girl on the screen drew closer to Lily and said with a haunting smile, "Welcome, Lily." From that moment, she was thrust into an otherworldly experience. The television screen acted as a portal to a different dimension. The interior of the house remained the same, but it felt eerier and darker than before. Lily began to explore this strange dimension within the house and started hearing the voices of children echoing throughout. Laughter, children's songs, and even faint whispers filled the air, as though trying to communicate with her. In this dimension, the rules of time and space seemed to be twisted. Lily found herself reliving her own childhood memories, but they were distorted and eerie. She also glimpsed glimpses of a disturbingly dark future. Trapped in this paranormal experience, Lily felt lost and unable to escape. She was neither in the real world nor in this strange dimension. She couldn't decipher the mystery behind these inexplicable events and felt like she was stuck in a never-ending nightmare. House was no longer a place of comfort for her, and she could never feel at ease alone at home again. These chilling events remained as haunting memories for her, and the enigma behind them remained unsolved. I lived in a quiet farmhouse with my brother Tom and his wife. We shared the responsibilities during the busy season, but during the off-season, they often went on trips. I had lost my fiancée a few years ago and hadn't ventured back into the dating scene. So, I spent a lot of time alone, which was especially tough during the off-season. One early October night, while Tom and his wife were out of town, I heard a piercing scream that sent shivers down my spine. I quickly grabbed my rifle, and with the windows open to let in the refreshing October air, I went outside. The scream was coming from the cornfield, and I fired a warning shot into the air, not sure of the situation. It could have been someone in distress or just teenagers playing pranks. After another scream followed by silence, I called out for whoever was there, but I received no response. Worried, I called 911 and reported what I'd heard. The police arrived, and we searched the cornfield with flashlights but found nothing. With no other option, I went back into the house and double-checked that all the windows were closed. Not much excitement happened in our quiet county, so perhaps it was just some local kids trying to scare farmers and homeowners. After watching TV for a while, I decided to head upstairs to bed. I took a couple of melatonin to help with my chronic insomnia. After about an hour, I heard strange noises coming from downstairs. It was then that I realized I hadn't closed the windows down there. In a state of panic, I called my brother Tom, who was in a different town. He assured me he wasn't home and promised to call the police. I silently made my way to the safe and grabbed my shotgun, even though I knew the creaking floors would likely give me away. As I slowly descended the stairs, I heard footsteps downstairs. They were getting closer to the stairway. A tall, skinny figure suddenly appeared at the bottom of the steps. I aimed my shotgun and told him not to move, but he calmly retreated and then ran through the living room and out the back door. I locked the door and called Tom, who told me the police were on their way. I secured every window on the first floor and waited. The same officers returned, this time with all the lights on. One of them decided to stay on the property for the night, but the intruder never returned. The story, however, had one final twist. While finishing up the last harvest of the season, I spotted a woman's shoe in the field. It was a size 8.5. This discovery made me recall the screams I'd heard, followed by the break-in. I called 911 again and reported the shoe. The police conducted another search of the cornfield and took the shoe as evidence of a possible disappearance. Strangely, there were no missing person reports in our county, at least not at the time. I could only hope that the shoe's owner was safe and well. Alex had relocated with his family to a remote town in Michigan. We had always stayed in touch, even though his family embraced a rural and somewhat rednecky lifestyle. So, when they moved to this small town, it was no surprise. Alex's family loved me, and I was always welcome to visit. At the age of 19, Alex and I were now in college. He worked with his dad, and their property up there was vast. I had visited before, so this wasn't my first trip to their rural haven. It was a crisp fall weekend, and I was planning to stay at Alex's family home. His mom and sister wouldn't be around that weekend. It was just him and his dad. A 4.5-hour drive brought me to their isolated residence, surrounded by farmland and open fields. To reach their property, we had to navigate a gravel road about 300 feet off the main road. Upon my arrival, I was warmly welcomed by both Alex and his dad. They were already in the backyard, enjoying beers. After bringing my bag in from the car, I joined them. Alex filled me in on the various off-roading trails in the area, mentioning that his Toyota 4Runner was perfect for the adventure. Although I had never been off-roading, I was up for the challenge. Alex's dad prepared some delicious burgers on the grill before heading off to his friend's house. Alex and I jumped into my car, and he guided me to a nearby trail he described as ideal for off-roading. It was around 6 o'clock, and we had only a couple of hours of daylight left. We spent about an hour off-roading on different trails not far from Alex's house. However, as darkness started to settle in, we decided to leave the trails and get back on the road. Driving through the countryside, we passed numerous farms. As we navigated through the rural landscape, we noticed an abandoned church-like building adjacent to a vast cornfield. Alex mentioned he'd passed by this place many times, but had never explored it. So, we both agreed that we should return later, this time with bicycles. Alex's family had a collection of mountain bikes, fully equipped with lights. We drove back to his house, where he packed a backpack with tequila, a bottle of Sprite, and some flashlights. We each grabbed one of the well-equipped bicycles, each with night riding lights mounted on the handlebars. Alex estimated it would be a 20-minute bike ride. Given that we were both fitness enthusiasts, we didn't mind the prospect of a long bike ride. When we reached the abandoned building, it was quite dark. We'd intentionally arrived at this time to make our exploration discreet. The grass around the area was overgrown, and we decided to hide our bikes in the cornfield, not too far from the building. With just enough natural light outside, we decided to navigate without using the flashlights, not wanting to draw attention. Our plan was to get some artsy shots of each other inside the building for our Instagram accounts if we could find a way in. The building was unmistakably an old church, as evidenced by the arched windows. However, when we peered through a window, the interior was shrouded in darkness. I asked Alex to hand me a flashlight, and when I shone it through the glass, we both noticed something peculiar. Inside the pews, we spotted what appeared to be a person's head, hunched over and sitting with their back to us. Alex suggested it might be a mannequin, especially because it remained completely motionless. I, on the other hand, suspected it was a homeless person. We decided to investigate further and headed to the front door, where we discovered that it was boarded up, preventing us from gaining access. This, according to Alex, meant he had won the bet. There was no way for a homeless person to enter. I suggested we check another window for a closer look. As we walked around the building, we reached the window with the best angle of view into the church. However, when I shone the flashlight inside, we both noticed something peculiar.